the first step in creating lessons for engagement is to really start with the standards. What should students know and do as a result of this lesson? But then it gets a little muddy. Which standards should we be looking at? And the standards have been spotty, let's say that. Each state had their own set of expectations. Some called them standards, benchmarks, whatever. And everybody was kind of different. So if you went to school in one state, moved to another, it's a whole new game. But in the area of technology, we've always had kind of a leader. And that leader, and thank goodness we have, has been the International Society for Technology and Education. This is a group of technology experts that have come together to create the NETS, N-E-T-S, the NETS. National Educational Technology Standards, that's what it stands for. But then they drill down even further to make them for students, for teachers, and for administrators. So really, what should we know and do in the area of technology? This group has really been our pioneers. And most schools and states have kind of built their technology standards from the ISTE NETs. So now that you've heard that and you've seen a screenshot, you've now heard the NETs. Rich, wonderful, great. If we follow the NETs, every student would be prepared for college and career. But next in the whole let's be confused about standards, we come to what's called the Common Core State Standards Initiative. Key here, everybody, you'll hear me say it repeatedly, Common Core State Standards. This is not a federal government initiative. This is a group of practitioners that came together to say, what should every single student know and do to be college and career ready? And let's create some standards. So this is really important. So when you hear this, most people jump and everybody starts saying no child left behind and everything else. It actually is a state initiative that has brought together not only educational experts, but people in government, all different groups of business experts to find out what should our students know and do. So emphasizing that word state. Right now, as recorded, not every single state has agreed to adopt these. More than is identified here, they've committed to adopting. But it looks like for sure we're going to be without Texas and Alaska. But the other ones are really thinking about it. The whole goal is that no matter where you grow up in the United States of America, that you have a common set of standards. That's really the baseline. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing. There are the math standards, and we're just giving a quick look at the table of contents for math. There are math standards, and then there are English language arts standards. Now, on the site that I'm showing you, Common Core Standards, just Google Common Core and you'll get right to it. I learned probably the most on this website from the frequently asked questions. And that's where it kind of took me back to go, he keeps coming back. This is not a federal government initiative. It is the options of the state. And that seems to be very, very important as you begin to learn more about this. So this segment is not your complete Cliff Notes to Common Core. I just want to tie Common Core into your developing lessons for standards. And I also want to talk about all of the technology, or what I call the underpinnings of the Common Core. So that's my goal here. This is not your whole primer for Common Core. These words over and over, that everything should be developed around a robust curriculum that's relevant, real world. You keep hearing it over and over and over again. And then college career readiness, CCR, college career readiness. So no matter what state the student graduated with, they have the skills they need to be successful in college and careers. Bottom line, this is it. This is what you need to remember. Now we'll go a little deeper. English language arts standards. Okay, took me a while when I first started doing my research. ELA, for the entire rest of the document, they're referred to as ELA. So just You know, in education, we love to talk in code. Well, ELA is your new code. There is a K-5 section, and there is then a 6 through 12 ELA section, and this is really important. Then there is a grades 6 through 12, but it's English language arts in history and social science, science, and technology subjects. Well, what as you read through this, a lot of people, when they first came out, go, whoo, great, I teach social studies. These will not impact me. That is not true. The, the standards are to be woven through every single content area. Math is woven into science and is woven into the real life problem solving that's being done in social science classrooms. So it is not that you're not being impacted by these standards. You'll hear me say that a couple times. Now remember ELA, English Language Arts. These are the sections that are in there. There's reading, writing, speaking, listening, and language. And all the way through the ELA, the English Language Arts standards, they keep hitting some really key action verbs that I feel really apply to creating lessons for engagement and also that welcome the use of technology. For example, drawing is used repeatedly through the ELLs, and we can draw in all different ways on all different types of devices. Dictating and narration, well, I wouldn't think about doing it without technology. Writing, we could think as simple as word processing, or the dictation piece of using an app like Dragon Naturally Speaking. So all of these, as we go through this, yes, there'll be writing, there'll be pens, there'll be papers, there'll be crayons, but I see an opportunity to bring in so much technology when we're really talking about the Common Core State Standards. A couple of other verbs that are picked up all the way through ELL. Oh, excuse me, I just messed it up, ELA. Sequencing, collaborating, participating, recalling, gathering, responding, publishing, creating. Key, key, key. So English language arts can be broken up, but all the way through it's embedded. Use digital media, publish globally, collaborate globally, and now those are the things that technology just naturally fits into. Each strand, they all start with anchor strands, which are really nice because then they go across all the grade levels. And so at K8, the English Language Arts, there it is, it's spread out. K8, this is your state standard, which is great. 9 through 12, there's 2-year bands. So it gives you flexibility to deliver whichever grade band or time during the 9-12 experience to deliver this. So they want it to be quite flexible. And so that's how they're kind of organized. But I love that there's an anchor standard. You're going to kind of hear the same language in one grade level, and it gets more sophisticated. Both the math and the language arts standards spiral in difficulty, meaning these standards start in kindergarten. And in kindergarten, they start off kind of a basic level, spiral, 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 all the way through until you hit the 9-12 grade bands. So they build in sophistication, but they are focused on those anchor standards. Here is the math, kind of the big categories. That's what I'm going to call them. And again, these will be broken out with across all grade levels. So there'll be a little bit of geometry in kindergarten, quite a bit more sophisticated, obviously, in 9-12. And so they're trying to take a look and make a coherent roadmap that everybody that is involved in the Common Core State Standards, that there's a similar roadmap of how curriculum is delivered and at kind of basically what developmental level. Okay, now this is really important when in designing lessons for engagement. Make sense of problem and perseveres through problem solving. All the way through all of the standards, it talks about real life problem-based learning, changing the projects we ask students to do. All of these things are all focused on engaging students in changing our lessons. So when you look at this, you might say, good, I don't have to touch any of that because I teach science. Think again. These tools are to be, these strategies, these standards are to be woven through everything. Whoa, now we come back to Benjamin. And Benjamin Bloom had some fantastic ideas. But in 1956, we didn't have Common Core standards, we didn't have the net standards, and we didn't have much technology. But if you remember back to your methods classes, um, that Benjamin Bloom would like us to focus on higher order thinking skills. And that's what the higher order thinking skills, bring them up to the top. Sure, we know we have to do some of this lower stuff, but we really want to focus on higher order thinking skills. And that's the key to everything that all the research and all the folks that work with Benjamin, he wasn't alone, had a lot of research support. So everything higher order thinking skills, okay? Now, whoa, Andrew Churches, my friend, actually took and rebuilt the Bloom's digital taxonomy. He did a fantastic job. Thank you, Andrew. So when you look at this, it's kind of been restructured to really bring in all of these essential elements that are already woven through the Common Core standards. I want us to focus, we're going to start at the bottom, and then we're going to move up to the top, and we want to be spending most of our time up in the creating section, and we know that we have to do lots of stuff in between, but the real time and where we ask students to really create projects should be at the very top. So let's start at the lowest end. This is where we're remembering. We're doing things like advanced searching in Google, social bookmarking, organizing resources. All that stuff is down at the bottom. I call it kind of remembering factoids. Yes, we need to remember our math facts, for example, but we can't do just drill and kill all day long. We really want to get students up to the top, and students in kindergarten all the way through. We want them up at the top, this creating, building, animating, creating podcasts, creating all different things. These are the things we should have students doing. And if it's going to become a reality for anyone, our teachers need to know how to do all these things too. Podcasting can be done with any cell phone, with almost any laptop, free software. And we could have kindergartners recording podcasts 3 times a year to focus on their fluency. How cool would that be? Start your digital portfolio in kindergarten, aligned to your Common Core state standards. By the end you graduate, think of the portfolio of really authentic projects that every student could walk out of our schools with. I just get so excited when I think about what's possible when we really think about organizing and pulling this all together. Everyone, every principal, every kindergartner, and everyone in between should be broadcasting and producing. It could be as simple as broadcasting the morning announcements in a podcast, posting it on the website. Whatever it is, these are the activities that we need to model and we need to get students engaged in. Hopefully some of you are blogging, are using wikis, but really a high, rich thing to be focusing on in the creating mode is the remixing and the mashing up, where you're taking a little bit of this and a little bit of that, taking a clip here, ethically using copyright and everything else, ethically using copyrighted materials properly, not using more than 30 seconds of a song, so on and so forth. But bringing them, remixing and mashing them up to bring them to a new type of project. And that's the kind of thing that we'll be covering in some of the other units. Like, what are we asking students to do? Time to change. This is another visual representation of this, where again, you got Googling at the bottom, and up at the top, they're creating their podcast and making wikis, creating voice threads, making multimedia. That creating piece, that's mission critical, and that is what is woven through all of the Common Cores, the net standards, and I probably can challenge every single set of state standards. So we absolutely need to be focused on the top. And we have to start with professional development, and we have to stop doing the same projects that we've been doing for 25 years. Every lesson needs to be standards based. It needs to be focused to push all of our students to be college and career ready, but to think about that Bloom's taxonomy and moving to the top of the Bloom's taxonomy where we're having students create things. This will not happen if we do not rethink the lessons that we're asking students to create. The Common Core state standards also gives us a unique opportunity to begin to share, share, share. Right now we can share, but that's aligned to Georgia standards, Illinois standards, New York standards. You know what? That's all going to go away. They're going to be aligned to Common Core standards. Imagine the rich possibilities if we put every sixth grade teacher to work based on the Common Core standards. This is possible today, and that's where we have to start to be thinking about these really rich lessons that can really engage our students. Thank you for joining me.